Happy New Year's, everyone. Yes, we are at the end of 2022, and I'm going to give you my top 10 favorite movies of the year. It's honestly mind blowing that this is my fourth time doing this. I've been doing this channel for over 3 years now. So, thank you so much for sticking around and listening to my shitty takes on movies. So, 2022 was filled with some great films. I am excited to talk about them. It was a great year for cinema. And then before I get into my top 10, I like to talk about three honorable mentions. Three films that barely missed the top 10. I love these films. Honestly, they're in my top 10 for most of the year until I went on a film watching frenzy the last couple of weeks and watched a lot of films that came out fall and winter that made my top 10 and pushed some films out, pushed some films out of the top 5. Honestly, it was a great stretch at the end of 2022. But these three films, these honorable mentions are 13 Lives, All Quiet on the Western Front, and Barbarian. I love those films. Like I said before, they were in my top 10, but towards the end of the year, they slowly slipped out. But still love those films. Those are great films. Definitely check it out. But let's get started for the real list. Let's get started on my top 10 favorite movies of 2022. Starting off at number 10 is Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, an animated film that was released on Netflix. I was able to watch this film earlier this week, and honestly, I'm glad I was able to get it in time before my top 10 because I was blown away by this Pinocchio film. I've honestly been very tired by the Pinocchio story. That piece of shit Disney Plus live action cast grab was honestly the last straw for me, but I love this filmmaker so much. He's made some really great fantasy films, and he's making a stop motion film, which I love stop motion because stop motion, there's so much care and literal fingerprints and physical touch that is made into these films, and it is mind-blowing how long these films are made. So I wanted to see what he could do, and it was beautiful. It's one of the darker tellings of Pinocchio, and I heard it's more telling towards the actual story, but it has a beautiful message about real life, family, all of that. And honestly, it's probably the best looking stop motion film I think I've ever seen. Coming in at number 9 is RRR, an Indian film that was released earlier this year. I had so much fun with this film. This film was incredible, and I really don't know how to describe it. This is a film I definitely wish I reviewed. And it is because it is a perfect blend of action, epicness, story about brotherhood and friendship. There's some history involved, but the action in here is helmed so well because it's so over the top and insane. It's some of the most insane action sequences I have ever seen in my life, but it's woven together so well that it is just so much fun, and it works perfect for the story and the style and tone this movie is going for. This was one of my favorite films this year, but honestly, this is one of the most fun films I have ever watched. Coming in at number 8 is Nope, Jordan Peele's new horror film. I watched this film 3 times now, and every time I watch it, it gets better. There's so many things that I realize each time I watch it again. New clues, new meanings, and there's just so many different ways to interpret this film, and it's extremely well done. It almost reminds me of Jaws. It's not as scary as Get Out or Us, but it has this disturbing feeling to it, and he crafted one of the more suspenseful sequences I've seen all year, and it had really nothing to do with the main actual plot of the film. Won't say anything because it'll be spoilers, but this just shows that Jordan Peele is one of the best directors working in Hollywood today, and I hope they still shell out millions of dollars to make his original films because they never disappoint. Coming in at number 7 is Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. I was extremely excited for this film because Knives Out made my top 10 in 2019. It was one of my favorite movies that year. And Glass Onion has made my top 10 list for 2022. I am so happy that they're giving Rian Johnson money to keep making these Knives Out mysteries because Daniel Craig absolutely kills it in this role. And these mysteries are so much fun. It's the type of movie that you'll watch it through a different lens when you watch it again, and you'll notice even more details and clues. It's the type of movie that rewards you for paying close attention, and those are my favorite types of films. Coming in at number 6 is The Fablement, Steven Spielberg's new film. This was a film that I definitely wanted to squeeze in before the end of the year because Steven Spielberg is one of my favorite directors of all time, and when I heard he was making a film about his life growing up, how he was inspired to become a film director, I knew I had to see this, and it did not disappoint at all. This is definitely one of Steven Spielberg's most personal films he's ever made. You could tell that there was so much care and detail in telling this story about how he grew up, some of the struggles he dealt with, and what inspired him to become a filmmaker. And all of it is just blended together beautifully to tell a really moving story about a kid that just doesn't know what he wants to do, dealing with some hardships, and ultimately, though, he has such a great talent that it shouldn't be wasted. And Steven Spielberg absolutely earned his right to make this movie because he is one of the greatest directors of all time. Coming in at number 5 is The Banshees of Inisherin. This was a film I really didn't know was being made until I saw the trailer on Twitter, and Film Twitter freaked out about how this would be one of the best films of the year, and they were not wrong because I absolutely love this film. This film is absolutely hilarious. There's some fucking great dark humor here. It's one of the best dark comedies I've seen in a long time, but this movie is absolutely devastating too. This is one of the most depressing movies I've seen in a long time as well, but everything blends together so well. Performances are great. They're some of the best of the year, and this is a film that I'll be thinking about for a very long time, and a film that really moved me. But overall, like I said before, one of the best dark comedies I've ever seen. Coming in at number 4 is Avatar: The Way of Water, the long-awaited sequel. Me and everyone else had extremely high expectations for this film, mainly because it took 13 years to make, and it was a sequel to the highest-grossing movie of all time, and I am somewhat surprised, but also not really surprised, and just happy that James Cameron shattered all his expectations. I love this film. It is beautiful to look at, one of the best-looking films I've ever seen. It was a perfect blend of excitement, emotion, world-building for Pandora, and I think James Cameron really knocked it out of the park and set up a really great sequel that is going to set up some great sequels to come, and I'm excited to see those too. Coming in at number 3 is The Batman, the film directed by Matt Reeves. I absolutely love this film. I was so excited to see it because I love Matt Reeves as a director. I think that Planet of the Apes trilogy is like the most underrated trilogy of all time. When I heard he was making a Batman movie that was going to be darker and grittier, more realistic, I was so excited because I thought he'd be a perfect director, and he nailed it. He nailed the atmosphere of Gotham. He nailed the atmosphere of Batman. There's some absolutely beautiful shots, some of the best shots we've seen in a comic book movie. And overall, the movie was exciting. It was a mystery. It was a mix of like Seven and Batman and Zodiac. It was great. And I'm excited to see what we can do with the Batman series because obviously understands the character. I think Robert Pattinson was a great choice to play Bruce Wayne. And I just think the whole tone was perfect. I think they nailed it. They nailed Batman, and I'm excited to see what they can do next. Coming in at number 2 is Top Gun Maverick, one of the highest grossing movies of all time. This film is a perfect summer blockbuster. It's got the perfect blend of a great story, characters you care about, action, excitement, emotion, all of that. It's blended together perfectly. And I have to give props to Tom Cruise and his production crew for going out of their way to make sure all this shit was like real jet sequences. Some of the same shit that they're doing for the Mission Impossible series. This is the shit people want to see. This is why the movie did so well, because everything felt real and everything felt exciting. This was, like I said before, a perfect summer blockbuster. A film I've seen like 4 times now, and it just never gets old. It's just fucking awesome, and that is why it's one of the best films of the year. Alright, we're here. My favorite movie of the year. My favorite film of the year, and if you've been paying close attention, I haven't mentioned it yet, so you probably know what it is. And honestly, this is a film that's probably going to be on everyone's number 1 on their top 10, or at least their top 3. It seems like everyone talked about this film all year. And yes, you probably guessed it, it is Everything Everywhere All at Once. This is a film that I feel like Hollywood should be thriving to make anytime they try and make a film. It's an original story that's extremely interesting with great characters, great action, excitement, great concepts. Like, this movie just felt perfect in every sense of the way because of how well it just works. The action sequences, the story, the originality, the comedy, the drama, the emotion, it all blended together perfectly. And it was one of the most unexpected movies I've ever seen. I saw a trailer for it, I'm like, oh, that looks kind of cool. I did not expect to be blown away that I was by Everything Everywhere All at Once. This is one of the most original films I've seen, one of the crazier films I've seen that absolutely works. A film that years from now we'll look back and be like, that was one of the best films we've seen. It just has that flair to it. It has that style. It's one of those things where you're watching the film, you know you're watching something great. And that is why it's my favorite film of the year. But those were my favorite films of the year. Yes, I didn't get to see everything, and I'm excited to see those other films I haven't gotten to see yet. Maybe they would have made my top 10. Who knows? But that was my top 10. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Maybe not. Maybe you thought my top 10 was fucking stupid. But I'm curious to hear what you guys think. What is your top 10 favorite movies of 2022? Please let me know. And thank you so much for watching. Click here to see more of Dave's Takes.